Hello students, welcome back to class 9 social science class, okay? Class 9 social science, and today we will be continuing with the chapter that is chapter 4 Indian National Movement, which we have started in the previous session, okay? So today we will start with the civil disobedience movement, that is in your page 69, okay? Social science class 9 page 69, civil disobedience movement. Now, regarding this civil disobedience movement, this broke out in 1930, okay, and the reason why it broke out was because the government, the British government, they had tried to take over the production of salt. Okay, they took over the monopoly over the production of salt, and so because of this, Gandhiji started this civil disobedience movement. Now, starting this in the beginning, what Gandhiji did was he started his famous march, which is called as the Dandi March. Okay, Dandi, that is the name of a small village in Gujarat. Okay, this is on the seashore. So he took this march, and that is why it is called as the Dandi March. So he started this Dandi March from his ashram. Okay, and in the beginning he had only around 70 plus followers. Okay, around 70 plus people following him. But when he reached this place, that is Dandi village, he found out that there were thousands and thousands of Indians following him. Okay, and this is, as I've said, to protest against the salt law. And once Gandhiji reached this village, he prepared the salt himself just to defy the salt law. Okay, and with this, again, this movement broke out all over India. All over India, the Indians, they were taking part in this movement. And again, because of this, the Britishers, they started arresting the Indian leaders and so on. But even though the leaders were being arrested, still the movement went on. Okay, and at the later part, what happened was the British government, they decided to have a meeting with Gandhiji, that is the Viceroy, Lord Irwin. Okay, the man that is the Viceroy, he invited Gandhiji to have a talk with him, and that is called as the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Okay, it is there in your textbook. So the Gandhi-Irwin Pact means the treaty. Okay, pact means treaty. Okay, so the agreement that was signed between Gandhiji and Irwin. And here, Gandhiji also, he did, that is the Congress, okay, they decided to attend the round table conference, because this round table conference, the Britishers, they were going to have it in London. Okay, and in the beginning, the Congress, they were refusing to attend it. But now, because of the pact, Gandhiji also, he decided that he will attend the meeting, the first round table conference, and on the side of the Congress, on the side of the government, the British government also, they decided to free all the Indians whom they have arrested during the movement. Okay, so this was the agreement, and this is how the civil disobedience movement came to an end. So Gandhiji went to attend the meeting, but they could not come to an understanding, because the point is, on one side, the Indians, that is Gandhiji and the Congress, they just want independence. Okay, the Indians, they were just demanding for independence, and on the part of the government, that is the British government, they were not willing to give it. And so because of that, they could not come to an understanding. So Gandhiji came back to India empty-handed, okay, because they could not come to an understanding. So after coming back to India, what happened was, later on the Second World War broke out. Okay, and the Second World War had broken out in 1939. Okay, Second World War broke out in 1939, and by this time, what happened was the Indians, they were scared. Okay, they were scared that if the Second World War keeps on continuing, then it's a sure thing that India will be invaded by the Japanese. Okay, because in the Second World War, the Japanese and the Britishers were enemies, and since India is under the control of the British, it's a sure thing that the Japanese will be invading India. And so because of this, the Congress, they again had a meeting, and they decided to start a new movement, which is called as the Quit India movement. Okay, Quit India movement. what it meant is they are asking the Britishers to quit India, that is to go away from India. So this Quit India movement started again in 1942. Okay, so the reason is, one is because of the Cripps mission. The Cripps mission was sent to India to look into the problems that the Indians were facing, but nothing could come out of it. Then the second point was, as I've said, the Indians, they were scared that the Japanese will attack India. Okay, so because of this, they started this Quit India movement. Okay, now when this movement started, Gandhiji, he even gave his slogan. Okay, his famous slogan is "Do or Die." Okay, again that is written clearly in your textbook. So Gandhiji's slogan was "Do or Die." So what he meant is, now it has come to a situation where they will do anything. Okay, the Indians, they are ready to do anything just to get back their independence or to drive away the Britishers away from India. So they will try to do this even if they die. So that is what he meant by "Do or Die." Okay, so with this slogan, the movement broke out all over India. Okay, and with the movement breaking out all over India, the Britishers, they again started with their repressive methods. Okay, all the Indian leaders were arrested. Even Gandhiji was also arrested. Okay, the Congress was declared as illegal. Okay, so all these were being done. But even then, okay, even though their leaders have been arrested, what happened was, it made the Indians become more bolder. Okay, they became more angrier, so to say, and the movement went on all over the country. Okay, and in the later part, it also became very violent. Okay, the movement became very violent because now there was no leader. Okay, all the leaders have been put into prison. So the movement was there, the people were participating in it, but they don't have a leader. Okay, leadership was not there. There was no one to guide them, okay, or to tell them what to do and so on. So because of this, the movement became very violent. Okay, but even though it became violent, what happened was, the Britishers, they still kept on trying to stop the movement. What the mob did was, that is the Indian people now at this stage, what they did was, they became violent. They went and they started murdering people. Okay, the Britishers and all. They even destroyed the houses. Okay, means of communication, transportation, bridges, all these were blown off. Okay, so all these were being done by the Indians. But since India was still under the control of the British, the Britishers, they followed with the repressive methods and they were able to stop the movement. Okay, so the movement came to an end because of the repressive method. But what happened was, okay, the government, what they did was, the government got alarmed and they became nervous. Okay, and what they did was, the government also, they did so many things to the Indians. Okay, thousands of them were arrested and put into prison. Women's were being humiliated. Okay, children's were beaten up mercilessly and so on. And this is how the Britishers were able to bring the movement, that is the Quit India movement, to a stop. Okay, but what the historian says is, they say this movement, okay, this movement, it was more violent than the revolt of 1857, which you have discussed in class 8. Okay, so the Quit India movement was more severe. It was more severe. The result was much more worse than the revolt of 1857. But this is how the Britishers, they were able to put an end to the Quit India movement. Okay, so in your textbook, they have given only that much. The remaining part, okay, that is the continuation, that will be for class 10. That is next year, if you pass and go to class 10, then the remaining, the continuation, you will be studying there. Okay, so for class 9, it is still it is up to the Quit India movement. Okay, but to sum it up, okay, well, I'll just give you the summary again. So we started with the Indian national movement, that is your chapter 4. Okay, here we have discussed about how the Indians came to know about nationalism. Nationalism means feeling of unity. Okay, so how the Indians came to know about the meaning of unity, they also we have discussed the points. Number one is, for the first time, Indians were politically unified. That is, for the first time, the whole of India came to be ruled by one government. Then we have also discussed that for the first time, the Indians, they have a uniform currency. Currency means money, okay? The same money was used all over India. Then even the legal system, it was uniform. It was same all over India. Then the administration also, it was same all over India. So this is also one reason which made the Indians come to know about the meaning of nationalism. Then another reason is, we have also discussed about the spread of Western education. The Britishers, they introduced education in India not because they felt sorry for the Indians, but the real reason is because they want to, they want the need, okay? They need the help of the Indians, and that is to work as a clerk in the administration. And none of the Britishers, they were willing to do that work, and so they needed the help of the Indians. But for the Indians to work in the office, okay, they needed to know English. So that was the reason why Western education was introduced. Okay, so Western education was introduced, and this again made the Indians believe that they need to come together. Then we have also discussed about the rediscovery of India's past glory. Okay, the educated Indians, they came to know about the how rich or how glorious the India's past was. Then we have also discussed about racial discrimination, where the Britishers, they consider themselves as so superior, okay? They always look down on the Indians. So all these made the Indians realize that they needed to come together, okay? They need to come together in order to fight for their independence. So that also we have discussed. Then we have also discussed about the INC, that is the Indian National Congress, okay? It was formed in 1885. It was founded by A.O. Hume, who was an English gentleman, okay? He formed this association because he wanted this association to be the link, okay? A link between the British government and the Indians. So that was the reason why the Indian National Congress was formed in 1885. Then we have also discussed that in the beginning, the attitude of the British was very friendly, but at the later part, it became very hostile because the Indians, that is the Congress, they were asking for more and more reforms. Okay, then we have also discussed about the partition of Bengal, why Bengal was divided. The Britishers, during the time Lord Curzon, he was the viceroy, okay, he divided Bengal into two, that is east and west. The excuse he gave was, he said it was for easy administration, but the real reason was to divide the Hindus and the Muslims, because the Britishers, we all know, they were following divide and rule policy. Divide and rule means division of the Hindus and the Muslims. So that also we have discussed. And then because of this partition of Bengal, it gave rise to revolutionary movement. Okay, people started revolting against the Britishers, and there we have discussed one particular group which is called as the Khadar Party. This Khadar Party, this was formed by the NRI. Okay, NRI means known residents of India, those Indians who doesn't stay in India but they stay abroad. Okay, so these people, they started this Khadar Party, and what they did was they used to take money donation from those countries who doesn't like the British government. Okay, and with this money, the Khadar Party, they used to buy guns, ammunition and all those things, and they used to smuggle it into India, and they gave it to the Indian revolutionaries, and this is how they played a role in fighting for India's independence. Okay, then we have also discussed about the emergence of Gandhiji, how Gandhiji entered the Indian political scene. Okay, he entered the Indian political scene in 1815, and he introduced a famous policy which we call it as the Satyagraha. Satyagraha means non-violence, okay, non-violence and fighting for truth. And we have also discussed that the reason why Gandhiji started this Satyagraha was because he knew that physically the Indians, they will never be able to defeat the British, and that is the reason why he started this satyagraha. Then the contribution of Gandhiji was his untouchability. Okay, he put a stop to the untouchables. He even said that the word itself is not good, so he gave them another name, which we call it as Harijan. Okay, then he started this non-cooperation movement along with the Congress, where they told the Indians not to cooperate with the British government. And there, what the people did was, the Indians did was, many of them, they surrendered their titles. Then the lawyers, they stopped going to the court. Even the students, those who were studying in the government schools, they left their schools and so on. We have discussed all those. Then, because of this Chauri Chaura incident, the non-cooperation movement again came to an end. Chauri Chaura incident, that is the incident where 22 policemen were burned to death by the angry mob. Okay, so that put an end to the non-cooperation movement. Then we have also discussed about the civil disobedience movement, which Gandhiji and the Congress, they again started. And then this civil disobedience movement, again it came to an end because of the agreement that was signed between the Viceroy of India, that is Lord Irwin, and Gandhi, which we call it as the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. And here the agreement was, the government, they also gave a promise that they will free all the Indian prisoners. Okay, and on the side of Gandhiji, he also agreed to call up the civil disobedience movement and to attend the first round table conference. Okay, but in the conference, Gandhiji came back empty-handed because nothing could come out of it. Okay, they could not come to an understanding. Okay, then after that, again we have discussed that the Second World War broke out, and because of the Second World War breaking out, the Congress and the Indians, they were scared that if the British stays in India, the Japanese are sure to invade India, and that is why they started this Quit India movement. And in the Quit India movement, it became very violent. Okay, it turned very violent because all the leaders were being arrested. Okay, they were being arrested and put into jail. And so the common people now, they don't have anyone to guide them. Okay, they were leaderless, no one to guide them and so on. So they turned very violent. The movement became very violent. They burned down the houses. British officials were killed. Okay, they bombed all those roads, bridges, and so on. And because of that, the Britishers also, they use a very harsh repressive methods in order to stop the movement. Okay, so all these we have discussed in this chapter. So I hope you have understood that far. As always, okay, please make sure you read your textbook. Read your textbook, underline all those doubts that you have, and once the school resumes, you can clarify your doubts from your teacher. So thank you for tuning in.